That's pretty slick idea.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Hey, we're back today for day two, a little bit of Big Ten preview and wherever else we take our conversation today. Today we've got Jax Florida. Otherwise, you'll hear me call him Paul throughout the throughout the podcast. So, Paul couldn't make it yesterday, and we didn't want to leave him out this week, and so he's here to join us and give us his thoughts on what he thinks the coming season and like I said, wherever else it goes with it, we don't know where this is going to go today. We're going to have fun with it. Okay. We do want to get a shout out to our sponsor, Terry Christensen at Terry's Scentsy. We she's agreed to sponsor us, and we're so appreciative of that because doing a podcast there are expenses involved, and so I just want to hold up real quick her website, and it will be in the video. It'll be in the title, which you probably already, if you're watching this video this far, you've already seen her website in the title. But we just want to give her a quick shout out. If you didn't see yesterday's show, I ordered this thing. Oh, isn't that nice? Still smells manly. And then when I ordered the bundle pack, I got some scent, some wax plus. I got this. I think I'm going to put this in my bathroom. So anyway, let's get right down to it, Paul. So on yesterday's show with Ben, we kind of discussed a little bit about where we thought we see the Big Ten going this year, how our predictions laid out, and I went out and I actually went took every Big Ten West team and went through their schedules and did all their wins and losses, and I came up with a standings, by the way, that I didn't think I would come up with because in my head I had something different than what I actually predicted. So I just want to start with you, Paul, and tell me where you see the West going this year and maybe the East.
All right. Well, so I think the East, it's Ohio State's, it's their division. I know Michigan won it last year, but there's no denying the most talented team in the East is Ohio State. They're a top 4 talented team in the country, and I mean, until something changes over there where Michigan becomes more consistent or Penn State becomes more consistent, I don't really see a true challenger in the East. I just think that Ohio State is on a level by themselves. They're above everybody in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
Then you could take, Penn State, Michigan in the East. You can take Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota-ish in the West right now. And those 5 teams are probably in a group together too, where, they could all finish anywhere, 2 to 5, 2 to 6, and you wouldn't be very far off. So that's kind of where I see things in the West. I hate to say this, but I kind of like Minnesota. They're returning I think the most 6th-year players, or they still have some COVID super seniors and things like that on their team. They're bringing back their quarterback. They brought back their offensive coordinator. That when he was there a couple of years ago, their offense was humming. Now I know they have to replace some starters on the offensive line, some NFL quality starters on that offensive line, and I don't know that they are as talented on defenses as they've been. I know they're replacing an NFL defensive end, a guy who got drafted. I can't think of his name at the moment. So there's no team in the West that has a sparkling resume. You would say, everybody's got a flaw, and that's and Michigan has a flaw, Penn State has flaws. So I don't know that I see any real flaws with Ohio State. I know they're breaking in a new defensive coordinator. And so, I mean, but so when I look at the Big Ten as a whole, it's Ohio State. There's a grouping there of, 5 or 6 teams that, depending on, who you play, who you don't, when you play them, where you play them. That the battle really for me is second place in the conference. The battle is, really in the West, where I think you've got 3 or 4 teams. And, after this Saturday, I think it's crazy, but in week 0, somebody is almost going to be eliminated from Big Ten West contention. And that's wild to me. That blows my mind.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think Minnesota, doesn't they have a wide receiver or a running back coming back this year that's supposed to?
Well, I think they have that Mo Ibrahim. Sorry, guys. Yeah, Mo Ibrahim at running back. Obviously, the quarterback is back as well. And I think I can't think of the kid's name or the guy's name. I don't mean to be offensive. That they do have a pretty good wide receiver coming back as well. So Minnesota is going to be able to put points up. I don't know about their defense. I wouldn't say they have the best home field advantage in the Big Ten. But yeah, I could see them breaking through this year. Iowa's schedule is tough. We've talked about the offensive challenges Iowa has. Wisconsin, I think the Big Ten West could come down to that the winner of the Minnesota-Wisconsin game.
Okay. All right. That is quite different than what I've got.
Okay.
I actually have Minnesota after going through the schedules, and I didn't do this by design to say, I'm going to do this win or loss to put this team in this spot.
Right.
I just went what I truly thought when I looked at the schedule, where they were located, the timing of the schedule. And I have Minnesota going 4-5 in the Big Ten West.
Okay.
And that would be for 5th place. Yeah, 5th place behind a 5-4 Nebraska.
Okay. So run through it with me real quick. Just kind of give me an idea. But can you run through it for me a little bit with the where
I got the teams ranked or where I put them?
No, Minnesota's win-loss. Do you happen to
have
that?
Yeah. I got it right here. Yeah. So they're going to start out hot. I've got they've got New Mexico first on the slate, which I gave them a win.
Sure.
Western Illinois again, a win.
Okay.
Then they step into a Power 5 school, but this Power 5 school I don't think is going to beat Minnesota. I think this Power 5 school is going to, with Colorado.
Okay.
And I got them winning that one. And then I have them going to Michigan State. I put that as a loss.
Okay.
Okay. And then Purdue comes to visit the following week. That's a win.
Okay.
I think they get Purdue at home. They're at Illinois. I think Illinois is a year away, so I give them a win there.
Okay.
At Illinois. They're going to go to Penn State. I don't think Penn State can stay 2 years down in a row. I mean, they've had 2 back-to-back bad years. Both of them not very good. I mean, after the Iowa, they were ranked number 3 or number 2 in the country until Iowa beat them, and they never recovered from that Iowa. And so Penn State, they're going to lose at Penn State. They will win at Rutgers. Then they go to Nebraska. I just think Nebraska is going to be vastly improved. They're going to lose at Nebraska, and the reason why I think Nebraska, and I can go over this a little bit later, is they've got 16 transfers in, a new offensive coordinator. They've hired a new a person they've never hired before, a special teams coordinator. They're going after Iowa, and I don't know what they're going to do with the rest of the Big Ten, but they want Iowa, and they want Iowa bad.
Come get
And
some.
so, although I don't think Nebraska is going to be a great team, they will be a good to average team this year. So anyway, I got a loss to Nebraska. I think they will win Northwestern, and I got them losing to Iowa. That may be a little bit of a homer because Iowa's going up there in the early in November. That might be a little homer pick, but I'm picking it anyway. And then they're going to Wisconsin to finish their season, and I see a loss there for a total record of 7-5, 4-5 in the Big Ten. You see anything there that you would do different in my picks?
So correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a stretch there of Penn State, Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin.
Yeah. Well, in their last 6 games, they meet Penn State, Nebraska, Iowa, and Wisconsin. Iowa and Wisconsin are back to back. They get Rutgers and Northwestern in between the other two.
All right.
So
I might have to change this up here a little bit. I mean, I
that's a
didn't
rough
realize.
stretch.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's coming down the back stretch, and by that time, it could be kind of a battle of attrition. Who's healthy, who's not at that time of the year, and is that at Happy Valley?
Yes, it is.
Jeez. All right. So, and then they're also at Nebraska.
Yes. Let me double check that just to make sure. Yes, that is correct.
Wow. Okay. So, yeah, I am no longer officially considering Minnesota as a candidate to win. They would have to really, really surprise some folks. And I will tell you, with the way their schedule wraps up, they're going to have an opportunity there to make some noise. I don't know if they can win the West, having to, with the last 4 out of those 6 games. I don't know if that's a winning recipe to win the West, but they could certainly play spoiler for somebody.
Right.
Because while I don't think that they will do better than, say, 3-3 in those 6 games, they're going to knock somebody off.
And you're right, and here's something I also want to point out. Although Minnesota has that back stretch of last 6 games, pretty rough. I mean, they've got 2, I'll call them easier games in between during that 6-game stretch. But Nebraska also and Iowa also have a rough stretch those last 6 games.
Right.
They're all gonna come out of the season, early with a lot of wins. But like you said, it may be who stays healthy through the through that last month of the season, the November season, because November is rough for everybody. Even Nebraska. I mean, they've got Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Iowa their last 4 games. Talk about a stretch.
Right. Minnesota is the one place in the Big Ten where weather can be just a huge factor, more than even at Kinnick or because they are the furthest north. Who their late game, who are their? Do they have Wisconsin at home late in the year, or is that at Wisconsin?
Minnesota?
Yes.
Yeah. No, they're at Wisconsin.
It's at Wisconsin.
That's why I gave the victory to Wisconsin.
Okay.
It's going to be hard to go up there and win. I don't have Wisconsin having a smooth season, but a solid season, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right now, I mean, hearing how Minnesota's going to finish up their schedule, knowing Iowa's schedule, hearing how Wisconsin finishes up, uh, this is going to be one of those things where, uh, it may be a. I'm so sorry. It may be a 2 or 3 loss uh, team that wins the West, and it may just come down to some kind of tiebreakers or something.
Right. Well, I've got just to preface this, I have Iowa going undefeated in the West. That might be a pipe dream. That might be a homer picks. Because we do know that they struggle with Purdue, and Purdue seems to always put a new wrinkle in and find a way. But this year, I just feel like they've got an little extra going in. Both the coaches and the players have
Absolutely.
a little extra going into Purdue. One, they're tired of losing to Purdue.
Right.
Two, they're probably not happy about Tyrone Tracy and Charlie Jones switching to Purdue.
Right.
And of course the coaches are starting to have words with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Let's face it. I don't know how, but somehow Tyrone Tracy and Charlie Jones were poached by Purdue.
Right.
Theory has it that Tyrone Tracy is the one that poached Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
And which I could see that because they were good friends. They're both wide receivers on the same team, and they both lost their starting playing time to the younger guys, Arlen Bruce and Keegan Johnson.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I do think there's going to be a little something extra. I'm going to guess that Iowa's going to have an extra wrinkle or two, knowing that you've got Tracy and what's his face there, so I'm guessing, for that game, Iowa's going to probably, change up some of the signals. They definitely have an extra wrinkle or two, something that, that they hadn't shown all year. So, and
I forgot about that Iowa doesn't change much on offense, and these guys are going to know the calls.
Yeah.
They're going to be able to. They're probably already going over it with the coaches and saying, "Here's when they do this, they're going to do that. When they do this, this is what that." And if you hear him say this means this. But the one thing I think still gets us is that our number one defense is used to going up against these two guys in practice last year. Most of these guys played against them last year and practiced against them, not played against, but practiced against them last year. They know what these guys, where they're weak and where they're strong, Charlie may get one or two on us, but I don't see I don't see him going off on being a bell on us. And Tyrone Tracy, it still makes me mad that last year when he lost his job, he tweeted out and quickly got rid of it. So very few people saw it, but I did see it when he made that statement. It's too bad you have a Swiss Army knife and you're not using it right. And so
wasn't that
this
after
year
the Purdue
when he was
game?
talking,
Wasn't that after the Purdue game?
I don't know when he made that comment. I don't remember which game, but I will say this. Purdue was early in the year. I don't think he'd lost a spot. It was shortly the couple games afterwards where he started losing time, and he may have gotten a little, anxious then. But Brown came out. I don't remember when he did it. It might have been at the media days. He said, "We got a nice Swiss Army knife in our backfield, and we're going to use him the way he needs to be used." Is that not a dig at Iowa, or is that not a dig at Iowa? And he's also said in his media thing that Iowa on defense doesn't do any adjustments, and so they're able to find a new wrinkle each game and exploit it.
Yeah. To that, I would just say, yeah, Iowa did have a Swiss Army knife last year, and it wasn't Tyrone Tracy, it was Tyler Goodson,
Yeah.
and I think they used him about as good as they could with the offensive line. Uh, Tyrone Tracy lost his spot to true freshman because he can't catch the football,
Right.
and that's why Purdue's smart enough not to run his ass out at wide receiver either, because the Swiss Army knife has no hands. So
yeah, well,
enjoy your time there in crappy ass West Lafayette, which I've heard is an absolute dump. So enjoy that.
I think the thing about Tyrone is I think he would have been better off staying here at Iowa. I really do. He doesn't want to be a running back, and it sounds like about all he's going to get is running plays.
Yeah. The last time an Iowa player transferred from Iowa to Purdue, it was Kyle Bone Crusher Williams. And I think he's still in prison. So
yeah, he never played it down, did he?
He did. He did. He played, I think as a freshman he played, but then
I meant for Purdue.
Oh, no, he never played it down for, didn't he? I feel like he did. I feel like he played a year at Purdue before he wound up,
Really?
Yeah, going to prison.
Yeah. Well, I know Kirk Ferentz, in reference to all the transfers like that, I mean, he did mention though that the transfers are always looking for something better, and he says they rarely find it. And when you think about all the people who transferred out of Iowa, and does not include the seniors who use the transfer portal for their last year of eligibility, which was originally set up for. But those that left with eligibility left, those guys, how many guys can you think of that had successful careers after they left Iowa?
They left Iowa?
I can't think of any.
Jewel Hampton, maybe.
Who?
Jewel Hampton, who wound up playing for the 49ers.
Oh, okay.
Benny Sapp had a little success when he transferred to UNI and went to the NFL.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong then.
There was a quarterback, Schmonik or someone. He transferred to like Louisiana State. No, not Louisiana, LSU. Louisiana Lafayette, something like that.
I think we had one go to Texas Tech.
The wide receiver, yeah.
Yeah.
So
it would be interesting to see how Deuce does at Kentucky this year. I will definitely follow him to see if he's even playing. I don't even know if he's even number one yet.
Probably not. Now, as far as this whole transfer portal thing goes, and with the way conference expansion is going, it's really hard to say. I think if you want to transfer within the conference, unless there's some kind of hardship waiver, like your dad's dying with cancer, and that is the closest place where you can go to school and still, be in his life. I do think maybe, you should have to redshirt a year or sit out a year to transfer within the conference. Otherwise, you could transfer anywhere. I'm fine with that, but I don't like this, being able to hop from Iowa to Purdue or Purdue to Iowa or Wisconsin. I really don't like it. I think you should be able to be on scholarship, but I do think, there should be some kind of deterrent from transferring within the conference somehow.
I would agree with you on that, and they used to have those rules in place.
Yeah.
The Big Ten had a rule that you can transfer, but you can't transfer within the Big Ten.
And I think if you did transfer within the Big Ten, you did have to sit out a year.
Is that what it was? Okay.
I want to say so. Or
I thought it was 2 years actually.
Yeah.
Because it used to be you had to sit out a year.
Yeah.
Year for every transfer, no matter who it was or where you went. But if it was within the Big Ten, you had to sit out an extra year.
You
Um,
know,
because you remember that's kind of the reason why we had somebody at Iowa who seemed like he was played basketball forever because he had bulk of his career at Wisconsin. Then he transferred to Iowa and he had to sit out 2 years before he could even play.
yeah,
I can't remember his name, but he never really panned out the way we thought he would.
yeah. I mean, I don't know that it's one of those college sports, the big money sports, especially, right? They're in such a flux right now. There's such a transition going on. And yeah, you hear from Kirk. I think Kirk still loves coaching the guys and building the guys up and coaching them up. It's all the other stuff that's going on with college sports right now that he thinks stinks. And but let me tell you what doesn't stink, Dean.
What's that?
Let me tell you what doesn't stink.
Okay.
We have. Let me. This is the scent that I am currently melting in our melter right now. It is
Orange.
the Chase Rainbow's Orange Scentsy bar, courtesy of Terry. This is probably one of my favorite scents. It's a obviously it's a citrusy scent. It's orange and kind of a pomegranate, makes the house smell really, really good. And so, hey guys, the ladies love this stuff. I gotta tell you, I kind of like it too. Love the way our house smells. So if you get it, we do got the holidays coming up. If there's a special person in your life that the ladies do love this stuff. They make great gifts for Christmas, birthdays, that kind of thing. I got my wife a beachy warmer for Mother's Day with a pack of these melts, the waxes. So we've got a ton of their products. We got a ton of stuff from Terry. Laundry soap, dish soap, counter cleaner, waxes, the whole deal. Check out the website. It's totally worth it. We absolutely do use it in our home. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Good job, buddy. Good job. I appreciate that. I'm sure I know that Terry will too.
So it's genuine. I mean, we really do, use it. We love it. And we stand by it 100%.
The wax that she sent with me was called something Rush, but when you smell it, you ever
It's
go
the
and buy
old
those
gridiron
Old
rush,
Spice,
isn't it?
huh?
It's the gridiron rush, isn't it?
Yeah. You ever get that when you get some of those Old Spice body washes, you go in the shower and you use them, it kind of smells like that.
Oh yeah.
Kind of have a manly smell to it.
And there's some manly body washes and stuff that Scentsy has as well.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, shower gel and body soaps and things like that. There's bubble baths and bath salts, things like that. There's just all kinds of different products.
Yeah. And we want to point out how fast she ships. Man, that was quick.
Right.
Just like 2 or 3 days I had it after I ordered it.
And kind of the cool thing, because like with some of this stuff, like these waxes, you can be concerned about them melting or whatever. Well, when Scentsy ships those things, they have like cooler packs in them.
They were, yeah, it was in a cooler pack.
It keeps it from melting. So
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Moving on. Let's talk about where I see Iowa.
Yeah, let's do that.
So let me get this out. So I want to do this right. Iowa's back one page from Minnesota. Okay. Well, yeah, actually, I look forward to these magazines every year. It helps me get a real true perspective on the Big Ten and Iowa. Even though some of them are outdated, because according to this magazine, Charlie Jones still plays for Iowa. But anyhow, so I got them winning the game against South Dakota State, but I don't see that. I know that both you and Jason saw that more as a blowout a little bit, or a blowout on Iowa terms.
Right.
What Iowa considers a blowout. I see it as a closer game, kind of like that year you and I, where we needed the two block field goals to win the game, and the game that we lost to North Dakota State. They're like ranked number 2 in their division, and I want to see if I can verify that real quick.
The year that Iowa needed 2 block field goals to beat Northern Iowa,
Right?
They had a couple of pretty good guys on that team, starting with David Johnson.
Right. Oh, definitely. He was oh my gosh, he was tearing us up.
And I don't think South Dakota State has a David Johnson on their team. That's just my take. He was the top 3 player on the field that day, and that was the team that in 2009 in Iowa that had a ton of NFL talent. And so I'm just not overly concerned about South Dakota State. I don't expect Iowa to run away with it 55-0, but I don't think they're going to score very many points. If they can get to 10 or 17, I think 17's an upset. I don't think Phil Parker will be very happy if this defense gives up 17. So, I mean, the offense, I don't know that we're going to, run away with it unless the defense, gets us a couple of scores, and then all bets are off. But I mean, let's just assume it's all offensive scores. 24-10, 31-10, I think is about as where I see the game falling. 27-10.
Okay.
I think Iowa gets up 10, 17 points. Maybe they get up 17-3. And then, you're just going to get a healthy dose of the run game in the second half. Maybe something breaks. If not, Iowa's just all too content to just get out of there with the W and, start preparing for Iowa State.
I'm a little concerned going into, this is going to be a tough game. It's not going to be a cakewalk, in my opinion. I'm a little concerned going into this game, though, that Gavin Williams, the guy who's listed as our number 1 running back, is still not practicing, unless he got to practice this week. Brody Breck is still not practicing, unless he's been back to practice this week, and I haven't seen any photos of him. Mason Richmond is still, from our offensive line, is still not practicing. This is the last week of camp. They're going to break camp and go into game mode for next week. And Kirk's going to be, if these guys haven't done anything in camp, he's not going to play them in the opening game.
Well, I think in some of those, I know a lot of them were held out of that, the open practice and stuff like that too. I thought I heard Kirk say if even this past Saturday when they had the open practice, if it would have been a real game, some of those guys would have gone.
Right. But yet he held them out of practice for another week.
Yeah. Well, or he just held him out of that practice.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, there's just one of those things where, some of the veteran guys maybe too, like, okay, well, they maybe wanted to give the fans a look at some of the younger guys. I don't really know. I just know that Kirk said, in some of those cases of guys who didn't practice or were off to the side or whatever, that, if it had been an actual game, they probably could have gone.
All right. And I think that's Kirk never being totally honest about where his injury situation is.
Well, that could be too.
I just think he was holding back. I think although he alluded to the injuries in his pressers and stuff, I just think he's holding back on how seriously they could be. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. They're going to have to start and play the game with or without these guys.
Yeah, I mean, you're at some point you gotta dance with the girl that brung you, right?
Right.
You gotta.
So Iowa State's up second. I think Iowa State's best chance to beat Iowa was last year. And
They
there's
had
rumors going around
everything.
that the locker room was so deflated after losing that game to Iowa last year that it affected the culture among the team and the rest of their season. Which you can tell Iowa State didn't have near the season they were supposed to have last year.
No, absolutely not. And they had everything set up for them.
Mm-hmm.
They had the high ranking. They had the Hall and the quarterback and the tight end and the defense and
Mm-hmm.
college game day. And I mean, if ever they had every possible. The only thing, the game wasn't played at 8 o'clock at night. Short of that, you
Mm-hmm.
know, uh, yeah, it was set up for them to win, and
It
they didn't
was.
get it done.
It was. I mean, I had even predicted Iowa to lose that game, saying it's time. This is their
Yeah.
best opportunity, and it's probably ready for it. And I'm glad we did. They didn't. I don't know much about Iowa State this year. They got a new quarterback, which they're really high on, and he's supposed to be even better than Purdy. But Campbell's loyalty to Purdy last year led him to use Purdy, who actually I think Purdy hurt the team more than he helped them
And
last
Mr.
year.
Irrelevant.
Mr. Irrelevant looks like he's going to be the backup quarterback, number 2 quarterback, the San Francisco 49ers, the way he's playing.
Yeah. Well, then,
Yeah.
look, what do you say? I mean, if you're Matt Campbell, well, Purdy was amazing. He was the last pick in the draft, and the guy that we've got here, he's not as good as him, or we have high hopes for him. I don't know. Like,
yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, because we also the running back went first round from Iowa
right?
State. He went early too, didn't he? Not only the first round, but pretty early.
He went earlier than some other guys from Iowa that I would have thought could have or should have been drafted prior to him. Not in last year's draft, just in general. Like, okay, because running backs too, they're the value on that position has been lowered, and
Right.
so but he's a good football player, and wish him good luck.
Right. Yeah. And speaking of running backs getting drafted, Tyrone Tracy, it looks like he's going to stick with Green Bay. It looks like he's not done anything to be kicked off the team yet.
You mean Tyler Goodson?
Huh? Yeah, that's what I said. What did I say?
Oh, Tyrone Tracy. But that's
okay.
Yeah.
Tyler Goodson, yeah. Yeah, they say he might stick on as the number 3 running back, but he's really shown some signs. But one thing I noticed that hasn't changed is he still likes to dance before he takes off and goes. I swear to God, he would have picked up probably a lot more yards for Iowa if he'd have just put his head down and took his feet and just took off and went, and instead of dancing for that big open hole for the big play. Yeah. But that's neither here nor there. He left for the draft and he got drafted, and it looks like he's gonna make a squad. Okay. So Iowa then comes home and plays Nevada. This game I would have when it was first scheduled and I first saw it, I would have said this game was going to be tougher than people think because of how good they are, and they're in the Mountain West. But they're in disarray right now. They got a new coach and everything, and so I think this will probably be the easiest game on Iowa's schedule. This is probably where you get to see the first time you see all 3 quarterbacks play, and we get a little deep into the running back room.
Is Colin Kaepernick back for his COVID super senior year? No. Okay.
Who is he? You're talking about the former San Francisco quarterback?
Yeah.
He's back this year. Somebody signed him.
Oh, so he's not back at Nevada for his COVID super senior year.
Oh, is he from Nevada?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So
actually the first time I ever heard of him was when that whole controversy started when he refused to kneel.
Yeah. So,
Or
all right,
Stan,
well,
I'm sorry, Stan.
if Colin's not back, this one could actually be a 55 nothing kind of game.
Yeah.
And I think for whatever reason, Iowa's playing it at night just to make it interesting for the
Why
Iowa
is
fan.
that? Why are they choosing a night? That's of all the games. That's the one I don't. I want the Michigan game at night.
No, TV's going to dictate that. I think just and maybe the Big Ten Network wanted this one at night. I don't know, but
Yeah,
it adds some allure to an otherwise boring game. Ho hum.
yeah. But this is
It's like
this is a
FSU.
game where we get. It's kind of like our favorite, where we get to see all the newbies and stuff. The people who are only going to play 4 times all year.
Right.
You know, we get because we're always excited for those blowouts, so we can see what the newbies can do. But the offense is so conservative by that time, you don't get to see a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
we'll
okay, and then they go to
handoffs.
Rutgers after Nevada. That's definitely a win, but I don't think it's going to be an easy win. This could be where we win 21-10 or something like that, or 21-14, something like that.
Iowa fans are used to having a game. It seems like once every year, once every couple of years, one of those head scratching losses that you just don't get. This one scares me a little bit. It's traveling out to New Jersey. It's probably going to be a sleepy noon kickoff. This one worries me just a little bit.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, then the following week they come home and play Michigan.
Now that's the other thing, right? So do you get caught peeking ahead a little bit? You're traveling out to New Jersey, noon kick, knowing you got Michigan the next week. A serious trap game, that Rutgers game. Very, very concerned. Coming off a big blowout win against Nevada, I hope not. I hope not. But man, that
I hope we get Michigan. I hope we beat them. But this is one of 2 losses that I've pegged on Iowa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
However,
Iowa's best and only chance at Michigan being a night game is losing at Rutgers.
Yeah, because it's going to be this is going to be a game where they're going to be probably 2 undefeated teams, and it's a repeat of last year Big Ten championship game, and I think Fox is all over that one for their big noon game.
Yep.
I hate that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Why would they do that? That was always the slot for the games that weren't important before.
Yeah, but so I mean,
why don't they want prime game? I mean, why wouldn't they go after prime time?
It's the strangest possible thing here, but literally losing at Rutgers could mean a primetime game for Iowa, Michigan. 2 undefeated teams. Iowa, Michigan probably gets a big noon kickoff. Go figure.
Yeah. All right. Then after that, we travel to Illinois. This one really? I put it as a win, but I believe Brett Bielema is going to make this team into a Wisconsin type team, and it could be tougher than I think it is. But it also depends on how bad we got beat by Michigan. Are we deflated by Michigan? Are we injured coming out of the Michigan game? Because that's the type of game where injuries occur a lot, when we're losing and we're trying too hard. And the injuries come up because these guys are overextending themselves. And so this one really depends upon it. But
also,
I believe our defensive line and our defensive unit this year is up to the task of stopping the Illinois offensive line. So this running attack that Brett's going to have, I think, will be ineffective against Iowa.
And, last year, Illinois, they had 3 or 4 transfers on the offensive line.
Right.
They had gotten transferred from 3 or 4 different places. A couple of them pretty good linemen.
They were big.
I think they were all seniors.
Guys.
From what I've heard through the Big Ten Network and things like that, Illinois, they're not there yet. They still have a ways to go with their roster. So I don't think that I think they lost one or two of the running backs that they had too. So I'm concerned about Rutgers. Depending on how the Michigan game goes, yeah, I mean, if Iowa doesn't play particularly well against Michigan, I think they could have a turnaround game at Illinois. You know, if it comes down to a last-second field goal, as seems to be the case whenever Michigan comes to Kinnick, right?
Right.
And you know, what was it when they had that big emotional win? Was it against Michigan in 2016? You know, and then the next week they just came out just completely flat. I mean, it's a concern. So we'll see what happens. But I do think Iowa is much more talented than Illinois. We'll see, but I'm more nervous about Rutgers than I am Illinois. How about that?
Okay, all right, good said. Well, okay, how about the Ohio State game? And Ohio State the following week after Illinois. This could also be another trap game. Illinois could also be another trap game. Depending on if we came off a big win against Michigan, Illinois could be a huge trap game.
Yeah. Let's just skip Ohio State. I seriously,
yeah.
I
don't even see this one being close.
Well, the thing is, there's only about a handful of times in the last 20 years where it has really gotten away from Iowa.
Michigan beat one last year.
Yeah, that was one. But even that game was close at halftime and stuff. I mean,
it was 14-3 at halftime.
I think back to like 2004 at Arizona State was one. I think we lost that game like 44-3.
Yeah, we came back the following week and we lost to Michigan, but we lost a very, very close game. We had a chance to win it at the end.
The 2002 Orange Bowl was not one of our finer moments.
No.
After CJ Jones returned the KO. Long story short, I mean, there's really only a few times that I can think of where Iowa was just woefully out of the football game. We might be looking at one of those times at Ohio State.
Okay.
Yikes.
All right. Okay. So then they come home to Northwestern. Now I did give this as a win. I'm not sure where Northwestern is. This is their even year, and of course everybody says the even years they do great, and the odd years they don't. And so, but Northwestern needs a quarterback. I don't know if they got that this year or not. I don't know much about what's going on with them. So that they need to the Big Ten's worst defense. They're going from the Big Ten's best defense a year earlier to Big Ten's worst. So they must have graduated a lot to the NFL.
Yeah. They still have that Isaiah Bowser guy. Is he still around?
What's that?
They still have that Isaiah Bowser guy. Is he still around?
Let me look real quick. What position did he play?
I think he was a running back.
Okay. They're too deep for running backs are Evan Hall and Cam Parker.
All right.
Cam Parker he did not play last year.
Okay.
He's listed as a junior.
Okay. Well, look, I think we'll know a little more about Northwestern this weekend.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely have Didn't Northwestern and no, it was Northwest. It was Nebraska and Illinois that played each other last year at the start, and
that's right.
Illinois won, but we said it was still hard to tell because we didn't know if they both were vastly improved or neither one had improved.
Yeah. Turns out they were both not very good football teams.
No, they weren't. Although Illinois had a better season than Nebraska did.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Also, then after the Northwestern win, we go on the road to Purdue, and even though this is at Purdue, and this starts our rough 4-game schedule for month of November. You remember when Purdue used to be an automatic? It's not anymore. But anyway, I still think we get the win there. I just think that both the coaches and players have something extra to play for this year, and I know they're tired of losing, and they have mentioned it. They have mentioned it. Spencer Petras has mentioned it. Brian Ferentz has mentioned it, that they want Purdue, and I just got a feeling that they've already working on a new wrinkle for Purdue. They've already probably been working on it already.
And Purdue has some talented players. They're not completely bereft of talent.
No, they were nine. They had a 9-4 record last year, so or 9-3.
I don't think they have a George Karlaftis on this year's team. I don't think they have a David Bell on this year's team.
I want to tell you what they've got. All righty. Tyrone Tracy was listed in this book as the #1 wide receiver.
Wow.
Not anymore, buddy. You lost your job already. The season hasn't even started. He wasn't listed as the top 4 receiver. Yeah, they've got 2 seniors listed as their top 2 running backs, and neither one of them has seen much playing time.
Right.
I think what they've got going for them is Aiden O'Connell.
Yes. Yeah.
That guy is scary good. He's scary good, but he wouldn't be the first scary good quarterback that we managed to beat.
Right.
Phil Parker, sometimes he has a way of befuddling them, even the best quarterback. But I can't remember. Does he use his feet pretty good? He doesn't, does he?
I think O'Connell is more of your traditional drop back passer.
Yeah.
But
would it be surprised to see him use 3 quarterbacks again this year because of the feet situation?
I again, we're gonna have to see who comes into that game. Down the stretch of the season, who's healthy, because that is so much of when you're talking not about the Ohio States of the world, but for just about everybody else. When you start getting 2 and 3 deep in your roster, you are just not as physically ready to play.
Right. Okay, so anyway, I got that as a win. It'll be a close win, but it'll be a win. Then they got Wisconsin at home after that. And be totally honest, I'm giving this one to Iowa as well, even though Wisconsin owns the history on us right now. They've also mentioned Wisconsin in some of their pressers. It just seems like they're kind of gearing on Purdue and Wisconsin this year, because those are the 2 teams that really hurt them last year, even though they still won the West. Those are the 2 teams that nabbed them last year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then they traveled to Minnesota on November 19th. Like you said, that one might be who's still healthy, who can still play, and the temperature up in Minnesota.
Right.
I can't believe Minnesota went from playing in a comfy indoor arena to an outdoor arena.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what I want you to notice about Iowa's schedule, now correct me if I'm wrong, but once we get beyond those first 2 football games, we don't have consecutive home games. It's home away, home away, home away, home away.
That is true. That kind of sucks. Yeah, it's after the Michigan home game, they're on the road for 2 games in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's home, away, home, away, home, away, home.
That's tough. That's tough.
So. And I still, until something changes, we'll beat Nebraska.
Even
though we've had to come from behind and do it late in every last several games. I don't know. It just seems like once Iowa starts on a roll coming back with them, it's like Like Iowa like plays with them, gets them a little ahead, and then Iowa starts to make a comeback. And once Iowa starts making a comeback, Nebraska just loses their shit.
Right now, until something changes, you can count on Nebraska and Iowa State finding a way to
Lose.
To lose. What did they say? Snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, or whatever, however that saying goes. Right. Yeah, I mean it's self-inflicted wounds for both of those teams that the last few years. It'll be interesting.
Right. But don't you think it's at some point Iowa State and Nebraska are going to figure out how to beat Iowa and finally win again?
For both of those teams, it's turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
That has been the difference in those games. Is they turn the ball over, have punt block, they find ways to self implode at the most inopportune times, to the point where it's just.
I'm almost going to be hate to see Adrian Martinez gone this year.
Yeah,
I'm going to keep an eye. He was kind of our best player in that game, and then I think he got injured and didn't even finish it.
Right. Well, but between him and then you go back the last few years, they had another Martinez. They had the black guy quarterback. I can't think of his name. They had one or two of those, and we could count on them to throw 2-3 picks.
So it was another Martinez that we picked apart, right?
Yeah.
I remember one we picked it. We intercepted him right at the goal line for a touchdown.
I think that was Parker Hesse, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Parker Hesse. Yeah.
I think he was trying to set some kind of screen up or do something, and Hesse kind of bopped the ball up in the air, then caught it and ran it into the end zone from about 4 yards out.
Yeah. That's fun. I love plays like that. Parker Hesse, I wonder how he's doing in the NFL. I know he's a tight end now.
Yeah.
I think he's still playing.
Last I heard, I thought he was with the Falcons, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember that. I just wonder how much playing time he's getting, or is he a scout team?
Well, I mean, the Falcons have that tight end from Florida. He's their guy. He's really good. He's right up there with like Noah Fant as far as athletic freaks.
Is Noah Fant still with Denver? Did they move? Did he take a job somewhere else?
Fant, he got traded to the Seahawks as part of that deal that sent
Wilson to the Broncos.
Sent Wilson to the Broncos. Yeah.
That's going to be interesting. That's going to be real interesting. And then where's Nate Stanley? He's not a Viking anymore. I did not know that until last week. Does anybody know if he's got a job anywhere? Did he land?
I don't think he's currently rostered anywhere.
Okay.
So
kind of a shame. They just released him. They didn't trade him.
No. Yeah. They cut him.
That's too bad. But I think he spent most of the year sick and injured last year, so he never really got a true shot.
Yeah. And then as far as here with the Jaguars, CJ Beathard, he's pretty cemented in as our backup. I don't think Coy Cronk is going to make the roster, but he might. And then Mekhi
He's still around? I thought he was done.
No.
Somebody drafted him or signed him?
No. He's been playing. He's played every position but center in the preseason games for the Jaguars.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's played tackle and guard, both tackles and a guard spot.
Does he look pretty good?
No.
I
mean, the Jaguars, the depth. Oh boy. Anyway, I don't want to turn this into a Jaguar thing. The Jaguars' first team looks pretty good, but man, when you get their second and third team, yeah. Anyway, most of those guys none of them are going to make the team anyway. But
we should do an extra episode somewhere right before the NFL kicks off their season. Just on the Iowa players who stuck on the rosters and where they're all at and everything. I think that would be kind of a cool, interesting topic. because it seems like we have more and more Hawkeyes, and it's getting harder and harder to keep track of where they're at.
Yeah. It used to be there was only about a handful of them in the league, and most of them were offensive linemen, it seemed like.
Mm-hmm.
There really weren't too many, and it was easy to keep track of them and easy to say, okay, I'm going to root for the Colts, because they have Bob Sanders and Dallas Clark, but now it is definitely more spread out.
Mm-hmm.
And the players are getting a lot more acclaim. I mean, Tristan Wirfs is talked about as being an elite offensive tackle. George Kittle, of course, considering elite tight end. I think Micah Hyde just showed up as like the 50th top player in the league, top 100 players.
Is Micah Hyde still playing?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, for the Bills.
Okay, so he's no longer a Packer.
Micah Hyde?
Hmm?
No, he's been with the Bills for 3-4 years now.
Well, what Hawkeye played the similar position for the Packers?
Was that Johnson or Jackson?
Oh, yeah. Whatever happened to him? Did he not pan out?
He didn't really. No. Trying to think. And of course, Kirksey, I think, is still hanging around with the Chiefs, maybe. Christian Kirksey.
Mm-hmm.
Neiman, the Neiman brothers are in the league. But yeah, I mean, definitely the highest, the two highest are Wirfs and Kittle.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's move on. Like we said, this could be an interesting topic that we could spend a podcast on, and we'll ask Jason if he's interested in doing an extra podcast on that. Of course, I got the final win of the season against Nebraska, as I think I already said, and so Iowa and Ohio State a repeat of, not a repeat, but Iowa will win the West again, and Ohio State a repeat game of the season. That's what I wanted to say. A repeat game of the second season. I find Ohio State wins it, but I find that game a little bit closer this time. Ohio State this time, thinking that they ran all over Iowa before, and then they look a little over Iowa this time. But Ohio State still wins the Big Ten title game. Let me give you the rundown of the West as the way I see it. Okay, I have Iowa 7-2, Wisconsin 6-3, Purdue 5-4, Nebraska 5-4, Minnesota 4-5, Illinois 2-7, Northwestern 1-8. And I know that we've probably gone a little lengthy, but let me I'll just tell you how I got the East. I won't go into a lot of detail. I have Ohio State at 9-0. Michigan at 8-1. Their only loss being to Ohio State. Although I don't think this Michigan team is as good as last year's team, I still think they're a pretty solid team.
Okay.
Okay. And plus they have their confidence now. Now they've learned how to win those games. Okay. I got Michigan State at 6-3. This is a team who we thought was down and out for a couple of years. Surprised us last year with a lot of transfers and made some noise. I don't know if those transfers are back or if they've moved on.
That running back Walker is gone.
Mm-hmm.
I think their receiver is gone.
Yeah.
I've heard their offensive line is.
Yeah. Actually, I want to flip that. I have Michigan State at 6-3, but that's more or less because of the conference, the division they're playing. I have Penn State at 7-2. I have Penn State rebounding this year, and they're going to finish third ahead of Michigan State.
Yeah.
And then the last three, Maryland at 3-6, Rutgers and Indiana at 2-7. I don't know what the heck happened to Indiana after that great COVID year they had, but maybe because everybody else was not playing well and was COVID sick all year, and Indiana managed to get through a whole season without a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I think that was just one of those things where, I mean, it was a COVID year. Yeah, it's just Iowa State and Indiana both had great COVID years. What does that tell you? I was just saying.
What's that?
Iowa State and Indiana both had great COVID years. It was
Right.
COVID. it wasn't the programs. I don't think either one of them have turned some corner, and I just think it was a COVID year.
It was a
That's
year. It was a year that both teams managed to get through the season without a lot of COVID issues.
right.
We know that Michigan got decimated throughout the year, and I can't remember who else did. I think either Purdue. I think Purdue did because the Purdue Indiana game got postponed twice.
Yeah, and
Um,
you're playing those games in empty stadiums with
mhm.
3/4 of rosters, and it's just a total anomaly.
Yeah, I
I
guess
think,
we underestimate how playing in empty stadiums affected some of those games.
yeah, I think it showed the value of home field advantage
Yeah.
in a lot of
And when you talk
cases.
about regular season, only Iowa and Indiana and I don't was it Ohio State had the only winning seasons in the whole Big Ten.
Yeah,
When Wisconsin went to their bowl game, they became a winning season. But Wisconsin was another team that was decimated by COVID
yeah,
issues. They only played 7 games total, I think, 4-3.
that's just I'd be fine if we just wiped that whole season off the record books and just
Mhm.
said, you know what, it was just a few scrimmages that didn't
Yeah.
count.
Yeah. And also too, the Big Ten's not gonna have the season, then gonna have the season, might have caught
Right.
a few teams off guard. Like, some of the teams that probably went into like we're not gonna have a season this year, you know.
Exactly.
And so everything went willy-nilly.
And
Iowa kept pressing for a season, and I think they just kept their guys together as much as they could, secluded them, and I think
and
that helped.
which teams, a lot of the teams too, in regards to how Indiana or Iowa State really found some success in that COVID year. Um, there was, like you had talked about with the season was canceled, then it wasn't, then it was delayed, and then it was the and when were they actually practicing, and who had uh the coaching staffs in place, and the cultures in place, and whatever.
Mhm.
And while all the really surprising thing is, while all that was going on, Iowa was also dealing with this off the field stuff that still hasn't fully resolved with
Mhm.
with Chris Doyle and those players and things like that. uh so it was really amazing for what Iowa did that year to hold it together, and has come through that whole situation. So I've seen an update on that recently.
You did?
Yeah, basically, from what I've read, uh, Brian Ferentz's attorneys have filed for a motion for summary judgment. Essentially, they've asked the judge in the case to review the totality of the situation and potentially just make a finding or a ruling in Brian's favor, saying that um, what I had read was that the players that are suing, uh, were questioned in interrogatories. That they were questioned and answered a certain way under oath, but then they were also given, like, had to do written statements, and a lot of the stuff that they had said, either being questioned under oath or in their written statements, that were contradictory information. At one point, they may have said Brian said this or the staff did that or whatever, but then on the written, they said that wasn't how it happened or whatever. So there's a lot of conflicting information coming
Mhm.
from their side, from those guys and stuff. So stuff that, you know I think what Brian's attorneys are basically saying is, look, this isn't going to hold up in court, because when we ask him this, okay, well, why did you say this on this day, and here's what you wrote down, or vice versa, here's what you wrote down on this date, here's what you told us on this date.
Mhm.
So
I think the most confusing thing about the whole thing is Akram Wadley
yeah,
being a part of that because Iowa took care of him and he was pushing to get his brother recruited to the school
Yeah.
Even as a senior, he's winding down his senior year, and he's on Twitter, making statements that Iowa needs to get his brother there, and recruit the brother. And I know that he said that Iowa took away NFL opportunities for him, but they didn't. He
Oh,
had a chance with the Titans, and he couldn't stick for whatever reason.
yeah.
And
Well,
that's
I mean, they do have Derrick Henry there and stuff. So I mean, but I don't want to spend any extra time on that whole situation.
Mhm.
I just
Yeah. There'll be a time when we can do a pod on that.
absolutely, and
Okay.
hopefully it's a time when we have some more answers and things like that.
Yeah. Let's start to wind this down. We've been talking for well over an hour.
Okay.
Let's start to wind this down and give me your take on both games this weekend and how you see it playing out.
So which when you say both games, I know about Nebraska Northwestern. What's the other game?
Illinois has a game against Wyoming
Oh, okay.
at Illinois.
I expect Illinois to come through that game with Wyoming. I don't really see. I mean, I expect a Big Ten team to beat Wyoming.
Mhm.
Now, as far as this Nebraska Northwestern game, I'm intrigued here. Right? We mentioned it, or I mentioned it early on. I happen to think somebody's Big Ten West aspirations are going to die on Saturday. Because if you're starting out 0-1, 0-1 in the division, you're playing catch up the whole season at that point, and I don't think either one of these teams are really vying for a Big Ten West championship. But I will say that Frost needs this much more than Northwestern does. And I mean, if they start out 0-1 and and they've lost to Northwestern, they're 0-1 in the division. I don't know how long Nebraska fans are going to sit still for this.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I do think Nebraska wins. I think Northwestern was Nebraska's only Big Ten win last year, and so I mean I do think Nebraska wins the game, and I think they need to. If they have any hope of having any kind of relevance within the conference, within the division this year, you can't start out 0-1 in week 0.
Well, no, not especially to a fellow Division West team. Northwestern, who most people don't consider even in the picture for a title this year. And so you can't, yeah, if you're gonna get back to a bowl game and save Frost's job, this is a must win for Frost. This is probably not a must win for Northwestern, just
No.
because the coach is solid there, and they seem to be putting up with these losing seasons because they mix in these great seasons every now and then.
Yeah. And the expectations at Northwestern. I mean, how far have the mighty fallen from the 90s to here we are in the 2020s? But
Mhm.
where you know for Nebraska, it's not about winning the Big Ten West. It's not about the national championship picture. It's not about you know top 5 NFL draft picks. It's can they matriculate their schedule to get bowl eligible?
Mhm.
That
That's where
that's the
they're at.
goal. That's where they're at as a program. Like what they may need to get bowl eligible just to save Scott Frost's job. Like
Mhm.
I just it's amazing to me how they've gone from
They
national
wouldn't.
power to
Yeah.
power out, to a power outage.
Yeah, they wouldn't be here now if they hadn't have fired a couple of nine win coaches, because those 9-win coaches probably would have grabbed a West title here and there off and on, away from, because they were consistently winning 9 games a year, and then they fire them, and then they go through a couple of losing coaches, and then here Frost hasn't turned this program around like they thought they would. I think a lot of people thought he could.
I know Nebraska has the money. If I were them, I don't. I I think I might have backed the Brinks truck up to Luke Fickle and just said, "What will it take?"
Mhm.
Because if you can win at Cincinnati, you can dang sure win at Nebraska.
Right. That's right. But we're going to find out about Cincinnati when they move to the Big 12 next year. We're going
Yeah.
to find out, is that team for real, or are they just running roughshod over their conference?
Well, I don't think the conference they came from was all that bad.
What
And
conference
I
were they? I
think
can't. Were they in the Big East, or were they?
I was it like Conference USA or something.
That's what
They
it
were in
was.
there
Yeah.
with some or the AAC maybe.
Hmm.
Maybe they're in the AAC,
Yeah, that could be too. But
but I mean they were in there. I thought they were in the conference with like UCF and Louisville and
yeah, because
Houston.
yeah, all three of those teams you just mentioned, not Louisville, but the other three are all leaving for the Big 12, along with Utah or Utah State. I can't remember which one.
Speaking of Utah, that's what they're talking about here in Florida. Week 1, Utah's playing here at Florida. Utah at Florida in the Swamp.
They're playing what?
Utah's playing at Florida here in the
Okay.
Swamp. Week 1. So for anyone who might still be listening to this, that's looking for an interesting Week 1 game to watch. Notre Dame, Ohio State, I think is a Week 1 game, and Utah at Florida is another one that might be worth checking out. Just seeing what's going on there. So
yeah, especially because I think Utah won. Didn't Utah win in the Pac-12? Didn't they win the West Division, or not the West, but the South?
They went to the Rose Bowl.
So they won
gave Ohio State put up a hell of a fight.
So they technically won the Pac-12 last year.
They did.
Okay, so yeah, they've always had a heck of a team since Urban Meyer was there, and they've not had a lot of drop off since Urban Meyer had run with that team. And the other thing too is more about the culture of Florida and Florida State, but those two teams haven't been what they were in the past. And are they making comebacks now?
Possibly Florida, maybe. But I mean, like, look, it's Florida State is squarely behind Clemson. And I mean, the rest of the ACC isn't really, all that great anyway. But and with Florida, I don't know what has happened to the state of Florida in football, but Florida State is struggling. Miami hasn't been relevant since 2002, and Florida, it seems like, and they've got a new coach, so who knows? I mean, it's just, it'll be interesting to see. There's all this talent down here, and I don't know. I don't get it. I feel like you and I could coach Florida to an 8-win season.
It should be. You would think it would be pretty easy to get recruits there, but this is a different batch of recruits who were either real young or weren't even born yet when Florida and Florida State and Miami dominated football.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's just like Nebraska. None of the recruits going to Nebraska now were around when Nebraska was in its heyday.
Correct.
Yet people still consider that a blue blood school.
Yeah. What was it? I think it was Kirk who had said on the BTN bus thing. He's like, look, when I don't have a single player on my roster that was born when I got here.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's one of the few coaches that can say that.
Yeah. And
I got a feeling Northwestern coach, name slipping my mind.
Pat Fitzgerald.
Yeah, because he's number 2 in the Big Ten Conference for been around for a while. He probably also has nobody that was born on his roster since he got there.
Possibly not. Yeah. So
Oh,
Well,
well,
Dean,
so we
this
just
is
let's go ahead and wrap this up. Because I
yeah,
think if anybody actually is listening this long, congratulations.
right. Hey,
Hey, if you guys actually did listen this long, drop a comment and let us know. Hey, we were there at the end.
and make sure you visit Terry's Scentsy page. If you're a Hawk fan, uh, it's always nice to be able to do business with other Hawk fans. When you get an opportunity to do business with somebody who doesn't hate you, who in fact would love to hear from you, take the opportunity. The stuff makes great gifts. It's great for the house. Again, this isn't a scripted thing for us. This is real from the heart. And I hey Jason, hey Terry, and I look forward to the next time that we can all get together. Uh, you know, and
Right. Yeah.
boy,
Well, we
we are
better be able to get
sprinting
together
towards
for game
kickoff
week
now.
next week. I know this has been kind of a hit and miss week for all of us, but we better be together for game week because that's good. That's good to go, man.
So,
And I know that Jason really wants to break down the Nebraska game this weekend. And so, since you can't meet with us on Friday, I might go ahead and do another podcast with him alone so that he can break that down because I know he's anxious to get out there and get stuff done and because of his internet issues. So we should tell people that he's got internet issues this week, which is why he didn't join us yesterday and he's not here today. He thought he could join us today, but late last night he discovered he could not. So we wish Jason the best. And Jason, if you're watching, you know, uh, yeah, he'll be back.
till next time, everybody, go Hawks.
Yeah. Our crew will be me, Paul, Jason, with Terry popping in. And when these guys can't pop in, you guys met Ben yesterday. Ben and I are going to probably do a solo thing on our own for extra thing because I like the way Ben and I played off each other yesterday. And I appreciate what Ben did yesterday, and he might have been the reason why we had a lot of traffic yesterday on that website.
Hey, shout out to everybody out there who's inviting your friends and stuff to join the Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Larry Wilson last night. Yeah, I approved. I think 10 people he invited all at one time. They were all invited by Larry Wilson. So hey, great job, guys!
Yeah.
Spread the word. Uh, you know, the season's getting ready to kick off. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff that we're going to be posting. Certainly, again, as always, we absolutely encourage your participation.
Mm-hmm.
Get your feelings out there. Let your voice be heard, and
Mm-hmm.
amongst other Hawk fans. We enjoy it, but keep it, keep it about the game.
Yeah, and I would
Don't make
also
it
want to
personal.
say that whoever is responsible for the 18 people from the Marshalltown area, because I approved all 18 at the same time. I kept looking at them thing. I go, that's Marshalltown. That's Marshalltown. Well, that's a suburb of Marshalltown. Oh my God, that person used to live in Marshalltown. I kept
Wow.
telling my wife, I go, I can't believe it. I said, did your sister do this maybe? Because her sister lives in Marshalltown.
Yeah.
And I had sent her a link to the YouTube podcast yesterday because she wanted the link, but she's an Iowa State fan, diehard Iowa State fan. So, Ro, if that was you, thank you for sending your friends over. I recognize several of the names, and so because we used to live in Marshalltown, so I knew some of those names that popped up.
Nice.
Yeah, let's get out of here. Terry, we'll see you later, and we'll have Terry's address website up on this like I did yesterday. It'll be up on the first line of the comments and stuff like that, where you can see it right away. It'll be so you can link it. If it's in the red, you can link it. And so you can just have to click it on. You don't have to type it. I get to do all the typing. That address. So this was fun, Paul. I knew that we wouldn't stay on topic all the way through, but that's always fun with you. I like it.
Absolutely.
This way when you and I are by ourselves, we can just kind of do our own thing and let it go where it goes.
Let it go where it goes.
Okay. All right, Paul. We'll talk to you later. This will probably be up in about an hour.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Bye, Dean.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.